More just coming in still. Okay, I think what we'll do, we'll kick off if that's all right, Julian. If you want to get those sort of slides up, I will kick off, and if anyone else comes in, we'll have to just allow a bit of a recap in the question and answer session towards the end. So, massive welcome, hello and welcome to all our Morecambe contractors, commissioners, and hospital colleagues on this. What do I say? Night of entertainment. Yeah, you're giving up your evening for this cracking session on the discharge medicine service. You know, what more could you ask for? And of course, for some of you, you may recall this also used to be called the TCAM many moons ago, the transfer of care around medication. So hopefully we are now good for a go live. And as we see more individuals joining, welcome to everyone. And the idea is we're going to cover off all the core elements, a bit of a refresher for some, and some more detail for others. As you may have noted, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually recording the evening session as well for you. So you don't need to sort of make any notes. You can always revisit any particular key element or key point within the recording later. And we're also going to cover, as you can see on the slide deck there, the Refer to Pharmacy platform, which is actually what we will be using for the discharge from the Morecambe Bay hospitals. And like I said, there's a chance that some of you may well have already been receiving some of these referrals by other foundation trusts via Pharma Outcomes. So again, you may have already been accustomed to the process, in which case, like I said, hopefully it's more of a refresher for you. And this is all about, as you may have guessed, reducing harm, you know, from the transfer of care, improving that sort of patient understanding of the regime about the medication, reducing those hospital readmissions, and reducing that pressure for our colleagues in our foundation trust, and also the collaboration around professionals as an entity. So if we could have some quick introductions there, Julian, the next slide, please. So there you have our mugshots, people. So we've got Simon from Morecambe Bay, looking very nice indeed, alongside Alistair Gray from East Lancs Hospital Trust. And then you've got me, Mubashir Ali, Chief Executive. And we've also got Lynn and Tina from Community Pharmacy Cumbria supporting us, as well as Spencer Noble with his long title, Head of Business Development, Segedem Healthcare Solutions. And then we also have Julian, who's the project lead and supporting the evening. So thanking you kindly. You'll also note, as I've already highlighted, it will be recorded. And if I could please encourage everyone to utilize the chat function to ask any questions, to add any comments. And what we will try and do, we will open up your question and answer session at the back end of the webinar itself, allow you an open question and answer session. But throughout, if you include your questions, we will try and answer those with our sort of panel that you can see there throughout to try and make that as streamlined as possible for you. We've also got a contact detail on there.
Good evening, everybody. Apologies for the slightly late start. Due to the phone, we might have some technical difficulties getting the slides up and running, but everything seems to be sorted now. So thank you very much for joining us this evening, just to look at the independent prescriber.
There we go. Fabulous. That sounds like the webinar from last night, in fact. So we shall continue. And then, like I said, you've got the contact information. And if you wish, you're easily able to email the LPC as well, ourselves in Lancashire, or of course Cumbria via the normal route. So on that note, I shall hand over to Alistair to take us through a bit of brief history of the Refer to Pharmacy platform. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm Alistair Gray, the Chief Pharmacy Information Officer at East Lancashire Hospitals, or ELHT, to use one of the abbreviations at the bottom. And it was our trust just over 10 years ago that the concept of Refer to Pharmacy was born out of some work we were doing with the Royal Pharmaceutical Society. And it was when the New Medicine Service and the targeted MURs, if you remember them, were invented, and everyone was trying to think, how can we get information out to community pharmacists? Because all of a sudden there was this really strong raison d'etre for both halves of the profession to work together, in much the same way that hospital doctors refer to GPs, but with pharmacy being the analogous thing. So we were very keen to sort of come up with a solution. Most people tried creating leaflets and signposting people to community pharmacy, and they all failed miserably. So electronic was the obvious solution, but no system existed. So I wrote to the Pharmaceutical Journal berating the situation, and Spencer, who's on the call, wrote back and said, well, nothing exists, but we could do it for you. And that's how Refer to Pharmacy was born. It actually didn't go live till 2015 because there was quite a lot of technical situations that needed resolving. But my two prerequisites were it was really quick and easy to do with the hospital end and the community pharmacy end, and the discharge letter was included, so that the whole information with regarding the patient's sort of clinical situation was apparent at the community pharmacy. And that raison d'etre still applies today. Now, you might say, well, why aren't we using farm outcomes? Because other places around the country use farm outcomes. Well, we did an evaluation of the two systems, and Refer to Pharmacy's utility was a lot higher. And also, we've got a lot of experience in East Lancashire of actually using it, and there's a lot of future potential that we want to build within the ICS about other future referral routes. It's really fast, it's secure, it does what it says on the tin. Simon mentioned TCAM, the transfer of care around, not Simon, Mubasha, transfer of care around medicines, and that's effectively what it does. And it'll be principally being used initially to support the discharge medicine service, although other referral types exist. So we typically will refer patients on admission if they're a blister pack user, a care home resident, or maybe they're on a shipping order of medicines, or they use methadone. And there's a really strong utility to the community pharmacist to know that person's in hospital, so they can pause the supply process while the patient's in, and automatically get an update of when they've been discharged with a copy of the discharge medicines, so they know what's been changed if things need changing in blister packs and monthlies. Who will be referred? We'll come on to that towards the end, but basically every eligible patient. And you're fortunate in the footprint of University Hospitals Morecambe, to use the UHMB full title, because in East Lancashire, we get patients referred to us as inpatients who then can be sent back to their community pharmacists. So you'll get referrals from East Lancashire hospitals as well. Equally, in the East Lancashire patch, we will get some referrals from UHMB as well. As the rest of the ICS goes live over the course of this year, then the whole of Lancashire and South Cumbria, there'll be a network of referrals from hospitals to community pharmacies, which will be absolutely brilliant. And then next slide.
Good evening all. I'm Simon Rosa. I'm the UHMB lead pharmacist for EP Digital Strategy. Welcome. Missing Emmerdale Farm at the moment, but we'll try and be as quick as we can. Right, so as far as I'm concerned, this is long overdue. I see it as a professional courtesy to let community pharmacy know what we've messed about with while they've been in the acute trust with us. And since 2018, at UHMB anyway, we've been sending discharge summaries electronically to the GPs in our footprint since 2018. So you'll be sort of late to the party at some respect, but the thing is, a lot of you guys will actually see patients before they go to see their GP. So, like I said, it's a professional courtesy, and one of the things that you're going to see hopefully from the video demonstration is how easy it is for acute trust to actually make the referral. In that referral will be a link to our discharge summary, which is a combined clinical narrative with a list of medication changes, change of medications since they've been admitted. If we go to the next slide, please. Now, within the Northwest, UHMB has been the first trust to actually go to EPMA, which is an electronic prescribing and medication administration system, a full electronic system. Now, one of the prerequisites of that is accurate clerking medications onto the system, accurate amendment of those medications clerked on, and accurate capture of what medication changes we've made as an inpatient. Now, one of the problems that we have with that, at any point in that journey, if a clinician doesn't do their job properly, clerking that medication on properly, adding medication on properly, the information coming out will be inaccurate. And that's something that our GP colleagues have found on occasion. Confusions have arisen because of discharge summary. So we're trying to produce that UHM, an agnostic, clean list of medications that we think will discharge when they get to the community pharmacy. So this list of medication will clearly show the patient medication, but without any new, unchanged, changed, or stopped medications. And this clean list won't appear till, I think it's the second launch of this product, which will be in Julian. When is that? Julian, can come off mute.
Simon, I think we've got a problem with Julian getting unmuted. I'm trying to unmute him, and it's not letting me do it.
Okay, you go. When is the second version?
You're breaking up, Simon. Can you come close to the mic?
Yeah. When's the second version getting released of Refer to Pharmacy?
I don't think we've got a precise. Yeah. We don't know the precise date, but it'll be sort of June.
So once testing of this new list is gone live, you'll be receiving a referral with a discharge summary plus a list of discharge medications, just to stop any confusion. And this is the list of medications that you'll get from UHMB. Over to you.
Hi everyone, as previously introduced, I'm Spencer, Head of Business Development at Surgeon Healthcare Solutions, and as Alistair says, I was there at the conception, shall we say, of Refer to Pharmacy many years ago. So this is really just a quick slide just to let you know about what the onboarding process will be for you guys. So we have a list of all pharmacies and pharmacists that has been provided to us, and we will send out and set up usernames and passwords for you guys, and along with a Refer to Pharmacy URL, which you'll see there on the slide. And we'll send those details out with you, along with the initial information around the support desk and opening hours and such like. And that'll go to your NHS email addresses. You'll also get, as part of that package, a user guide that takes you through what you guys need to do, screen by screen, which you'll see in the video in a little bit later, along with a little information around what each screen means and what you should do. So if you can keep as well your contact details, username and password, because what tends to happen a lot, what we find is that people either lose them or forget them. Pharmacist changes and such like, and especially your username, if you can keep that somewhere, it's generally the email address. It is a lot easier for us to trace you on the support desk and such like, and delays any further passwords being reissued and such.
Julian, you think you need to unmute in order to hear the sound?
Okay, I will start again on the video. Hopefully this will work. Refer to Pharmacy is a platform originally designed by clinicians from East Lancashire Hospitals Trust. It is built in a way that makes creating a referral from the secondary care pharmacy team to community pharmacy as easy and fast as possible, so that all eligible patients can be easily referred. Refer to Pharmacy has two parts: the hospital module and the community module. Whilst today's presentation is aimed primarily at community pharmacy, it would be good to demonstrate the whole journey of a referral. Currently, the focus will be on discharge medicine service referrals, and today's demonstration will show this and quickly touch on the other referral types available. Initially, I'll demonstrate how fast a referral can be generated by the hospital team. I'll start by creating a referral in real time, then repeat the steps to explain how it works. Stopwatch is ready. So that was 52 seconds. If no message was required, it would probably only be 30. In reality, it may take a little longer to discuss the process with the patient and identify their chosen pharmacy. Now I'll take you through and explain the steps. To access Refer to Pharmacy, head to any modern web browser and enter the URL. For community pharmacies, the URL is refertopharmacy.co.uk. The hospitals have a URL specific to them. You may notice slightly different URLs in this video. This is because we're using a demo test system with no live patient information. I'll start by logging in. Here, my username and password are saved, and the login process is slightly different on the community system, so I won't dwell on this. Having accessed this system, let's just discuss the general layout, as this is similar for the hospitals and community system. You will see a menu bar down the left-hand side, and we'll discuss this further when we look at the community pharmacy module. The bar at the top details a breadcrumb trail, which shows the page you're on, who to contact for support, and at the top right, a logout link. Like any clinical system, when it is not being actively used, it is important for security reasons to log out, as the system contains confidential patient information. It is also best practice to close the tab of your browser after logging out. Hospital users land on the Create a New Referral page to start a new referral. To create a new referral, the patient's hospital ID must be entered, which the user will obtain from either the patient's hospital bracelet or the hospital electronic prescribing and medicines administration system. Let's enter a number here and hit continue. RXR70 is one I prepared earlier. We now have the basic demographics displayed for verification purposes, and if more information is needed, the Show More link expands the displayed demographics. You'll see that there is a consent statement displayed. For non-English speaking patients, this is made available in a number of other common locally used languages, as you can see in the drop-down list. These are professional translations written in the script appropriate to that language. Selecting one will also change the I acknowledged and agree to the above statement to that language. The patient can be shown the translation and can click the consent box or indicate for the user to do so. After consenting, clicking continue moves us to the next page. Here, the demographics continue to be displayed, and if there are previous referrals already made in the current admission period, they will be shown here. This may mean no further action is required, or the clinician may have a reason to edit the previously made referral. If the patient has had referrals in previous visits, they are also shown and can be viewed here. In this case, this patient has no history, so we can just create a new referral. All that is needed is to select a referral type. I'll select DMS shortly, but first a quick discussion about the other types. The hospital user may choose one of the other referral types, such as information, care home, or MDS. Information can be used just to provide some useful info, like where to obtain a special the patient was discharged on, or highlight specific issues. Frequently used options are in the drop-down list. One that is more often used is to notify a community pharmacy that their patient is being transferred to a care home. Care home referral is the opposite and can be used to send to the pharmacy that looks after the care home where a patient is being newly transferred to. A note would be added here to say this patient is new to the care home. Alternatively, This option is utilised to notify a hospital admission for an existing care home patient. MDS is used to send a hospital admission notice to advise that a patient on an MDS system is admitted and to suspend dispensing. More on that shortly. Today, I'm selecting DMS. I can add a note if there is something in particular I want to highlight. Let's say the patient is on methotrexate and the day that the medicines are to be taken has changed from Wednesday to Friday. Now the user needs to identify the pharmacy to whom the referral should be sent. The hospital team will speak with the patient to attempt to identify which pharmacy the patient uses. Searches can be made on any part of the name, address, or phone number. Alternatively, you can click on the map which is centred on the patient's postcode. The patient is indicated with a blue pin, local pharmacies with green pins, and the patient's registered GP has an orange pin. In this case, the GP is off the map. I can click on the pins to display the details, including an image where one is available from Google Maps. You can also zoom in and out and move around to display other pharmacies. Experience shows this is useful when a patient chooses a new pharmacy for the first time or can't recall the name of their pharmacy, but can describe where it is. Click the balloon and then Go selects the pharmacy. As previously mentioned, if the patient is an MDS patient or from a care home, or for some other reason, the hospital may want to notify the community pharmacy that the patient is admitted to the hospital, such that the community pharmacy knows not to dispense any regular repeat items until they are advised that the patient has been discharged. This is referred to as a hospital admission notification, or HAN. If a hospital admission notification is requested, this will be delivered immediately to the community pharmacy, and we will discuss shortly the process to confirm receipt. If no hospital admission notification, then the referral will sit in the system until the point that the patient is discharged. For the referral to be sent to the community pharmacy, 3 things need to occur. The patient is discharged in the hospital patient administration system, the hospital team have completed and signed off a discharge letter, and the prescribing system has generated a list of medicines at the point of discharge in the case of Morecambe. When all 3 triggers occur, the referral will be made available to the community pharmacist. Selecting yes or no to hospital admission notification completes the referral process, and the referral is now shown as pending discharge. The hospital team can, in theory, generate multiple referrals. An example may be that a DMS referral has been added, and then it is decided the patient will be discharged to a care home, so a care home referral is added, and 2 different pharmacies need notifying. It is important to note that any referral, where there are changes to long-term medicines, could be eligible for the discharge medicine service. So if you receive a referral labelled MDS, information or care home, but the discharge letter and list of medicines shows changes that fit the criteria, then you should process as a DMS referral. Also, if a new medicine has been added to the patient's regimen and it is eligible, the new medicine service could also be undertaken. You can see multiple actions can be taken from one referral. The hospital team can view, edit, or delete a referral if needed. That is, refer to pharmacy, hospital. What happens in community pharmacy? The community pharmacy will receive an email notification that a referral has been sent to them. The email contains no patient information, just a message to advise to check refer to pharmacy. Most community pharmacies tend to have a routine to check the refer to pharmacy system regularly, and once the hospital starts to generate referrals at significant levels, this will become more important. As I mentioned at the start, the URL for community pharmacies to access this system is refertopharmacy.co.uk. So let's enter that now. Again, as I'm using the test system today, you will notice a slightly different URL here. For community pharmacy, the process of logging in is slightly different. It involves entering identified letters from your password and a PIN for extra security, as the system is accessible from the internet. Whilst it is important to log out when not actively using the system, if you are processing a batch of referrals, the system remains logged in for a reasonable length of time, so that you do not need to keep re-entering your password. On accessing the system, the first page presented is the View Pending Referral screen. You can sort this list by clicking on any of the column headers. I'm going to click on Notification Status. This is the queue of referrals where immediate action is required. You will notice the screen has blue entries and pink entries. Blue entries are where a hospital admission notification referral has been sent and the pharmacy has acknowledged this. No further action is required until these rows turn pink again. Pink rows need action. Rows marked pending will be new hospital admission notifications. It is important to acknowledge these so that the hospital team know action has been taken. When acknowledging these notifications, the likely actions in the community pharmacy would be to make a note in the pharmacy PMR that the patient is admitted, so that anyone in the pharmacy team know not to dispense any prescriptions until notified of discharge. Pharmacies will have their own process in place to ensure any repeat prescriptions received will be held until they can be reconciled with the discharge summary received. To action a hospital admission notification, I click View. The first thing is to check that the referral is a patient you recognise. If it isn't someone you know, check if the hospital has put a note to advise that this patient has identified you as their new pharmacy. If you do not know that patient, you can reject the referral at this stage and put a note which the hospital will receive. If all is well, check if the hospital has added any special message and update the PMR. A message can be entered for the hospital on accepted referrals, but is unlikely to be necessary. Click Acknowledge to show you accepted or reject to cancel the referral. Each community pharmacy can develop their own SOP for this. We can now see that the entry has turned blue and no more action is required until this turns pink again. You will receive another notification email when an action occurs. Let's assume a few days have passed and the patient I have just accepted has now been discharged. Again, I click View. Remember, a discharge referral may not have had a previous hospital admission notification because they're not always necessary. I can therefore check the demographics of the patient being referred again and make sure that it is a patient I recognise. I have the option to reject or accept the referral. Accepting the referral will bring us to a new page. This is a list of all patients where you have accepted the referral but not yet fully actioned it. You can return to the View Active Referrals page at any time. Here is the patient I just accepted. To process the referral, I click View. Once again, I can confirm the patient details, and here I can see a link to both the discharge summary and also for Morecambe Bay referrals to the list of medicines at the point of discharge. Clicking on the link will display a copy of the discharge summary. The one on display here is a sample one. Alternatively, for Morecambe Bay referrals, I can click on the list of medicines at the point of discharge, which gives a clear list of medicines the day the patient left hospital. Once reviewed, the pharmacy team will follow their own protocols to manage the DMS process. Once the DMS process is complete, then the referral can be revisited to complete the outcomes and close down the referral. You can come back to the referral at any time until completed. I'll discuss this shortly. Currently, only minimal outcome information is being requested. A drop-down list displays a number of options of stages of DMS completed, whether an NMS was also required, or whether just records were recorded in the PMR. You can add some notes that may be useful for the hospital team or as an aid memoir to yourself. Record if a potential error was prevented, indicate if time was saved or waste reduced. Please do try and complete these as it helps to provide evidence the process is benefiting the local health system, which supports ongoing funding. Finally, click Update Referral. The process is now complete. Once you've completed a referral, it will be moved to the completed referrals list. So let's look at how to access that and some other options in the side menu. We've already discussed the pending referrals list. These are the referrals needing immediate action and should be checked regularly. active referrals. This is where referrals you have accepted but not completed can be viewed. You can revisit as often as needed. Completed referrals. Once you've completed a referral, you can easily return to it and review the discharge letter if needed, or in the case of Morecambe, the list of medicines at the point of discharge. Rejected referrals. Any rejected referrals can be viewed here. As you rejected the referral, you will not have access to the discharge letter or list of medicines on discharge. Finally, some additional functions. As mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, the left-hand menu has additional functions for both hospital and community. Manage referral notifications. You can set up to 3 email addresses to receive a notification email to alert you to the fact a referral is pending. Both admission and discharge referrals will be notified. Manage account. Set your admin email address here for general contact. This can be the same as the notification email address if desired. And you can also update telephone number and fax number here too. It's important to keep the telephone number up to date. Fax number is no longer relevant. Materials has a number of links to useful documents, such as the DMS toolkit. Create user. You can add new users here. It's advisable when you first set up your system to create an additional admin user so that if you are off, another person can add and update users. As well as that, you can add additional regular pharmacy team users. View users displays a list of all active users on the pharmacy account. It's important to remember that if a member of your team leaves, it's your responsibility to remove their access. This is a web-based application and can be accessed from outside of your pharmacy, so you must ensure leavers are deactivated, which can be done from the View Users link. You can also unlock a user account here. Deactivated users can also be reactivated here. Finally, reports. There are currently 3 reports: the pharmacy referral type report, which gives a summary of all referrals by type, useful for checking if all your DMS claims have been processed. Outcome report, a summary of referrals showing the status of them, whether they're completed, and their outcomes. And the pharmacy notification report shows incomplete referrals and their status. It would be helpful to gain some feedback from you on reports so that we can improve these in the future. Thank you for watching the presentation.
Thank you, everybody. So just to give you a bit of an update from my point of view, the software is all built now and currently testing is underway. As soon as the testing has got to the stage where we're ready to send out some test referrals, we'll be doing that to some selected community pharmacies who volunteered to take those test referrals and give us feedback on them. And then once that phase has passed and we're happy that everything is sort of joining up and the referrals are coming through as they are expected to, then we'll send out an email to all pharmacy users via the LPC to let you know that the system is going live. Once the system has gone live, it's likely that it'll be a slow ramp up in referrals from the hospitals as the hospital team get trained up and get familiar with using the system and identifying the patients to make referrals for. It's likely that initially referrals will only have a discharge summary, as was mentioned earlier, as the final tests on the new message are completed. If we can get both to come out at the same time, we will, but we want to be sure that those messages are coming through properly. So we'll be continuing to test with those a little bit longer, possibly. The LPC team and myself and Alistair and Simon will be monitoring the activity so we can just check that referrals are being picked up and acknowledged by the pharmacies. And if we notice that there's sort of a build-up of any referrals that aren't being processed, we'll probably contact those pharmacies to find out if they're having any issues. And if you do have any problems or feedback, then please do either email myself or the LPC team, and then we can look into those and sort of tweak things as we go along. As Alistair said, the system's been running for a number of years at East Lancs, and these days runs there very smoothly. But obviously, with any new IT project, there can be issues. So feedback is very much welcomed.
Thanks, Julian, and also thanks for the video. Hopefully, the fact that it's recorded allows everyone to go back, view anything that they may have missed. Anybody who's joined in late, the session will be recorded. And so now I just want to run through the importance of really checking regularly, and obviously the claiming element of this particular service. And right at the very top, you can see that new referrals will be notified via email. And you can also see that you can choose up to 3 mailboxes to receive those notifications. And in practice, I think that is really, really important. You pick off any holiday or any day off, sort of concerns, and that way nothing is sort of missed. And as I go into the separate stages of the service, the first one in particular is critical, and hence why that email notification will be very important. And as you just heard as well, the LPC, ourselves in Lancashire and Cumbria, will actually monitor this, the outstanding referrals. We'll give you a little nudge, a little bit of a helping hand initially, as we have a bit of a soft launch, just try and give you a bit of a nudge to get on the case, so you don't lose out on any cash flow, and hopefully the patients don't lose that as well. So therefore, we would really request if you could ensure the whole team are being briefed around this service, the fact that we may be calling, and we're there just to simply help you through the initial first few weeks. And I reiterate again the importance of regularly checking your mail, just like you used to on your shared mailbox, your farm outcomes, in a similar sort of pattern, in a daily routine, just to ensure you pop on there and double check what's outstanding, is there anything left that's there. And then on to the claiming process. So we obviously recognize that having to enter the claiming process via MYS can become a little bit laborious, if you like, and therefore you will have noted in the video that the entries into refer to pharmacy, i.e. Once it's been completed, are very minimal, very minimal. They are critical, however, because we need to notify our hospital colleagues that that has been completed. But you will note, quite critically for yourselves to try and support that workload, that it is very, very minimal in terms of the questions that are being asked. And then as well as that, we need to reiterate the importance of regular claiming, because this also supports the funding stream. We have some commissioners on the call as well, who will probably want to also reiterate this, that this will also support the continuation of the service and the essential funding. And so let's go on to the claims themselves then in the 3 stages. And you can note that there are payment schedules for each stage, and it's £12, £11, and again £12 for stage 3. The total amount, therefore, comes to the £35 mark. And it's probably also key that I highlight that there's a potential that you may have certain individuals who perhaps will be readmitted into hospital after stage 1 or stage 2. And therefore, that would be the end of that patient journey, and therefore you are eligible to claim. And it's really critical and important that you therefore claim that, whether it's ended at stage 1 or stage 2, or whatever point that patient journey has ended, that you make those relevant claims. And I would just like to take you through a few of those stages, just as a bit of a refresher, hopefully, and if not, a bit of a learn for you. What we will do, there's a couple of really good tools in the PSNC sort of web page. One of those is the DMS briefing for pharmacy teams. And what we'll try and do, we'll include those into the chat function for you, is a very, very short and sharp overview of the process. And I think it's really very useful as a refresher for all. And as well as this, there's also a DMS activity summary, which if utilized by the clinicians, because this is a pharmacist and pharmacy tech-led service, it's quite a useful tool just to follow if you haven't been included or involved in this for quite a while. So on to the 3 stages then. In a nutshell, stage 1 is simply receiving the referral itself, the discharge summary from the hospital. Stage 2 is the receipt of the first prescription post-discharge, which could happen at, say, at the end of the 1st week or the end of the 4th week, depending on how many meds the hospital has released the patient with or what they already have at home. And then stage 3 is all about checking the patient's understanding of the medication regime. So in a nutshell, those are the 3 stages. And I'm just going to give you a couple of caveats now, a couple of key points in this short webinar that we've introduced, give you a couple of helping points. So stage 1 then, the discharge is received by the pharmacy. You must action this as soon as possible if you can, on the same day where possible, but it must be done within 72 hours. So you have 3 days to get that done, obviously excluding days that you're closed, but you have 72 hours to get that action, because we know this is a critical part of this, because there could be prescriptions there that may be being dispensed. And therefore, they've introduced this as an essential service that it must be actioned within 72 hours. As well as this, you'll then do a clinical check by the pharmacist, and then either the pharmacist or the pharmacy tech will review the current prescriptions in situ, review any sort of repeat dispensing protocols, and take the relevant action and resolve any appropriate queries. And that's your sort of stage one almost complete. Then we go into stage two, as I said earlier, which is obviously receiving that first prescription. And once that is received, you follow a similar process again. You know, review that and what's being prescribed by the hospital in accordance to the discharge. Any discrepancies, any issues are then picked up by the hospital teams or the GP practices, and those are then resolved. Throughout this stage one and stage two process, you must have a clinical record of activities. You must have a clinical record. Ideally, a little note on the PMR that I think is strongly encouraged, but you can utilize any digital platform, or of course, you could even do it on paper. And on the PSNC website, again, there's some cracking links on there, which have a real good summary page that you simply complete as you go along. So hopefully that will be very useful for yourselves in practice in pharmacies. And then moving on to stage three, which is about checking the patient's understanding about the medication regime. This, again, is a bit of a mini MUR, for those of you who recall the MURs from the past. And it's all about having a conversation with the patient or carer, you know, depending on their circumstances, and to understand what is it and how are they going to utilize the changes to the medications that our hospital colleagues have now prescribed for them. And at that stage, you might also want to let them know if there's any wastage to safely dispose of those medicines, to bring them into your pharmacy so they can be safely disposed. And again, I would reiterate a note on the PMR and the continuation of this clinical criteria. If I just go back to the recommended training, there isn't actually any mandated training as such. It's all about just understanding the process and the creation of the SOP. But if you did need any refresher, the CPPE package is recommended. It has an e-learning and an e-assessment. You may have done it many moons ago, of course, but there's no point not highlighting this again in case you wish to join and give yourself a bit of a refresher. And of course, you would always need to complete the declaration of competence once that has been resolved on the CPP website. And if you just go to the next slide there, Julian, thank you. And again, a reiteration of the £35 if all three stages have been completed and submitted. But again, that may well be an end of the patient journey at stage one and stage two, like I said earlier. You'll also note at the bottom there that if the patient and you feel it's clinically appropriate, you can also take them through the NMS journey as well, because that has its own benefits and its own clinical interventions, which will obviously supersede the DMS. So you'll continue to claim for your DMS. You'll initiate them on the NMS journey, and I've had several of these in the past, and also been practicing, and they also gain the advantage and the benefit of continuing that medication regime. So please look out for those. On to the next slide. A bit of a future, let's whet your appetite a little bit regarding refer to pharmacy. The best bit I think here is hopefully in version 2, we will get the MYS integration. So we'll actually automate that claiming a principle and process, which can be a bit of a bugbear as we start, and it has been for some time. So hopefully we'll get that introduced in version 2 of refer to pharmacy, and that should really streamline and reduce the workload burden quite dramatically for all contractors out there. And also, as well as this, we're also in the investigatory stage, as you can see on the slides. We are looking at some bowel prep supply pilots by hospitals across East Lancs, which is a bit of a supply unit mechanic, and that we can easily now use the refer to pharmacy mode, and we can just send those referrals by the hospitals, and the patient comes in and collects those bowel prep. And of course, as most of you are probably aware, the National Smoking Cessation Service. Hopefully, it'll be ICP wide, and we're just currently working through that with the relevant commissioners to look at some solutions, but refer to pharmacy could be that solution. So that's the future. That's a quick outline. I'll now hand over to Alistair to give us a bit of a passionate plea around how everybody can contribute to the success. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mubasher. As you can see, the top line is only you can make this work. So in East Lancashire and now ICB wide, we have two philosophies. At the hospital end, we want to refer every eligible patient. Once the team are trained up and they know what they're doing, they shouldn't judge whether someone's eligible for referral for a DMS, MDS care home. If the patient meets the criteria that's in the community pharmacy, just refer them. Good things happen to people who've been referred. And as I said, a few seconds of work in the hospital can make a lifetime's difference to that patient, their family, their carers and their friends. At the community pharmacy end, it's important that every referral is managed so that the benefits of sharing information are actually realised. I'll give you an example of why this matters. So we've been doing it for a few years now, and on a good month, we will maybe discharge about 3,500 patients and will refer about 1,000, just to give you an idea of what the potential is. And even there, I honestly don't think every eligible patient has been referred. We probably should be in the 1,200-1,300 region for the number of discharges we have. But we had, a few years ago, a patient came in, they had a GI bleed and they were on rivaroxaban. So this oral anticoagulant was deemed responsible for this gastro bleed. So they were admitted to the gastroenterology ward, fixed up, started omeprazole, stopped rivaroxaban. And when they were ready to go home, a referral had already been made to the community pharmacist. The discharge letter was created. It lovingly detailed the reason why everything was changed and stopped, and the patient was discharged. The community pharmacy received the referral and they waited for the first FP10 to come through from the GP. Now, we don't know why it was, but the GP did not update their record and a repeat prescription for rivaroxaban arrived. In the past, it would have been dispensed without batting an eyelid because it was a repeat medicine. But this time, the community pharmacist could see that it had been stopped. So they phoned the GP up to find out what was going on. And the GP held their hands up and said, look, it's a mistake. Don't dispense it. So no harm came to that patient. Now, we know from our own outcome data in East Lancashire, roughly 24 times a month, similar stories occur. So making sure that every eligible patient is referred and acted upon saves lives. Ultimately, though, you make a difference because you help patients improve medicine's adherence. That helps them get the best from the medicines and stay healthy at home, which is what we want across the entire nation. Next slide, Julian. And these are just some resources available to you. So within the actual software, there are links to some training guides, some presentations to show you how to use the stuff. It's really intuitive, but if you've never seen it before, then it might be nice to have a helping hand. There is a link to the DMS toolkit. And as Mubasher said, there's been an awful lot of LPC support. So if you're unsure of anything, please get in touch. Equally, we want to monitor to make sure that the referrals are being made. So we'll be looking at the hospital end to make sure we're realising the potential and supporting you guys to actually manage those referrals. And you've also got the email and telephone number for the service desk if you're having actual technical problems. And there we go. Now, Julian, I think you're muted there.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep. So those are all the slides. And it's really just a question now if people have got questions. There are some questions in the chat, but I can see now the slides are out the way, that some of those have already been answered. Vipul Patel has asked, are there any PMR suppliers who've integrated it into their system? Spencer, I think the answer to that is not yet.
Yeah, that's right, Julian. There's no one done it as yet. It says refer to pharmacy and farm outcomes. That's basically the way of being able to do it.
Spencer, are there plans in the future? Do you know?
We are within Sedgedham, yeah, it's within our pharmacy manager, they have a professional services module, which has got things like the contraception service on it and blood pressure service, etc., that type of thing in there from off the top of my head. And there is plans for us to talk with our guys around getting that MYS link as well for refer to pharmacy and such like moving forwards in the future. So yes, it's within the roadmap, Alistair, but obviously I don't actually manage that side of the business. It's a different side of the business. So That's just from off the top, ad lib conversations with the guys. So a date for when that one might happen, I don't honestly know the answer to that, but it is within the roadmap, which the roadmap, as you know, can be over 2 to 3 years. But we know it's definitely there, and the next stage is really to get that MYS integration to make life easier for all pharmacists in claiming the service.
Thank you, Spencer. I can't see any more questions in the chat. So if people do have questions, Lynn McFarlane's got one. Lynn, you've got your hand up. Can you unmute
No,
yourself?
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't got a question. I'm just going to say that for pharmacies in South Cumbria, over the next few weeks, when the passwords have gone out, we will be phoning pharmacies to make sure that they've got the password, they've been able to log on, and then in anticipation for referrals start coming out. So that's what Tina and myself will be doing to support you from our end. I'm sure Lancashire LPC will be doing the same. So the support is here. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. It's new to Tina and myself. So we'll get through it. There's some fantastic user guides, and you can always revisit the videos that have already, that you've seen this evening. But we are here to help, and so don't worry about that.
Thank you, Lynn. So yes, so as I say, we're now moving into the testing phase. As soon as we're happy to make things live, we'll send out emails via the LPC with both the copy of the user guide. We'll send an email out via the LPC to let you know it's going live, and then Sedgwick Healthcare will send out your usernames and passwords so you can set up your first users. And with that will be the user guide, and we can also share the link to this video, as Mubasher said earlier. Simon.
Sorry, Julian, I got a question here from Ruth McKenna. What makes a patient eligible?
I can answer that if you wish.
$1,000 question.
Okay, so on admission, if the patient uses the blister pack, MDS, monitor dose system, MCA, what do you want to call it, they're a care home resident, or for any other reason one can see, it would be really useful to inform a community pharmacist that their regular patient has been admitted to hospital, then that makes them eligible for hospital admission notification. They may or may not be then eligible for a DMS, depending on whether any medicines have changed. If anything has been started, stopped, or changed for a long-term condition, that makes them eligible for discharge medicine service. Now, you might also flip them into NMS if it turns out the medicine is covered by the long-term conditions that covers. And that's pretty much it. If you remember from the video, we can make dual referrals. So we might have someone who is managed by a particular pharmacy, but they're then going to be discharged to a new care home, and we would make a dual referral. So we'd make a care home referral to the new care home, introducing them, and we'd send a separate message to the original pharmacy saying stop dispensing for them, basically, because they're going somewhere else. So that's the kind of semi-eligibility criteria, but it's basically what improve communications between the hospital and the community pharmacies, so you can do the right thing for both yourselves and for your patients and the health economy ultimately.
Thank you, Alistair. So if nobody else has any extra questions, I think perhaps we'd just like to thank you all for coming this evening and attending the webinar. As I say, the video will be available to watch afterwards if you want to watch that again, if you can put up with my voice any longer. And so, yeah, thank you very much. Mubasher, do you have a last word?
No, I was just going to say massive thanks. And as Lynn suggested earlier, we're all here to help through this cycle. And Simon and the team are really going to be key to this. They'll try and start a little bit slow so we get accustomed to this sort of way of working, and hopefully we'll progress and we'll be in line with the numbers that Alistair suggested in the forthcoming few months. But massive thanks, a huge turnout as well, and it's great to see everyone on this cracking evening, to be honest. And I'm sure we'll probably do great things now going forward in the next few months. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right.